Hey, so we just recorded our follow-up of the last week's fights, which is why we're in the same outfits. But thoughts on tomorrow's card, UFC on ESPN 30, Benavidez versus Figueiredo 2. Kind of a weird card to bet on. There's not a lot of footage on a lot of the fighters. A couple of the fighters are real hot and cold. Particularly the main event fighters, and Kona main event for that case, particularly Kelvin. But without further ado, here are the picks, or at least my picks. And remember, it's $1,000 of imaginary money. Both of us are betting on this card. And we're going to see who does better. So Hermansson, straight up at plus 100 odds. I'm just going to bet $100 to win 100. I think Fiziev by decision at plus 300 is a good number, so $100 to win 300 on him. Him against Marc is kind of like a immovable object meets an unstoppable force. I think Fiziev could overcome him with activity though and walk away with the decision. We'll see. Diakese could keep him at the end of his straight punches and kicks and win a dominant decision or even get a TKO. So that's why it's plus 300. Lipski, I was watching tape on these two girls earlier, Lipski and Carolina. Honestly, Carolina looked so sloppy in her UFC, I think her lone UFC fight, just swinging those long arms around. She had pretty good Thai kickboxing, but some good knees and some kicks, but her punches are atrocious. Lipski is not the best fighter. Her wrestling could use some work, but she certainly has a better fundamentals game on the feet, and I think she's more physically powerful. So her by decision at plus 160, I think it's pretty good odds. I think that number's going up. Last time I looked, it was plus 175, so adjust your numbers accordingly. But $100 to win 160 there, and then also a straight bet on Lipski minus 120 to win 100. Pantoja by decision. Pantoja against Askarov. Askarov's is a really crafty. I think he's Dagestani. I think more kickboxing centric. He's got good grappling. I think Pantoja's the more physically dominant fighter and has the wrestling to keep it on the feet, where I think he should be able to win the second and third at least, if not all three rounds. Because Askarov's got a pretty questionable gas tank. Duffy Alvarez over 2.5. Alvarez is some Spanish fighter I've never even seen fight. Didn't even watch tape on him. I know Duffy's a durable guy, and I'm just betting that. And he doesn't have great finishing ability, so I'm just going to bet on the over 2.5 rounds at minus 155. That's $155 to win $100. Tsarukyan, he's definitely a potential prospect. I guess a prospect is somebody with a lot of potential. Doesn't have a lot of finishing ability though, and he's against a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wizard and Ramos. So him by decision minus 130, $130 to win $100. A couple parlays, which mix and match there. And once again, there's the 3 parlays, which are kind of a modest parlay, which I would like to win. A more ambitious parlay, which I don't expect to win, and a very ambitious parlay, which what is it, $45 to win $42,000. So that'd be pretty sweet. Some cool props to keep an eye on that I'm not really going to put any money on, but if you're feeling ambitious, Benavidez by submission plus 1225, Hermansson inside plus 385, and Ramos by TKO. He's got good punching power plus 1235 is a pretty good bet. But those are my bets.
But I have 30 seconds to do mine now.
Yes.
Okay.
You have 2 minutes, babe. Done.
Askarov versus Pantoja. I'm probably pronouncing all these wrong. I'm only betting on the main card for this one, and I'm going ham, which is I think what Gen Z people call hard.
Hard as motherfucker.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, ham.
Peanut go hard.
So Askarov versus Pantoja. Doing Askarov straight. Bet on young. That's my only advice. Betting 100, hopefully to win 170. Lipski versus Carolina. As we all know, I feel about like women's fights. So they're fairly even fighters when it comes to the odds. I always like betting on women don't go into decision just because it feels more exciting for me, even though it probably goes to decision. So, just gonna bet it doesn't go to decision on plus 235.
Yeah, that's a good dog. I like that one.
Diakese versus Fiziev by serve. That fight, Diakese, gonna bet on him inside. I think he's definitely gonna win, by the way, so it doesn't even matter about that. For sure, he's definitely gonna win. He's the favorite. But I'm going to say by decision, just because I like to switch it up. You all know that I like to end it inside, but for once, I think it's actually going to go to decision. Just going to be weird. Plus 300.
Bet on the inside.
Plus $300
$100 for
is
300.
yeah inside. My next one's by decision is what I meant to say. Gastelum versus Hermansson. Gastelum by decision. So same thing, even. Feel like it's gonna go to decision. Hate betting on decision. They're even odds, so I think it'll just be an even matchup. Don't even need to worry
Coin
about
toss
it.
at plus 255 is pretty good coin toss.
Correct. Thank you, Budici, for agreeing with me. Benavidez and Figueiredo.
Joe against Dave.
Benavidez. Straight, plus 195. By the way, so I have all opposite of him, so this will be a very interesting YouTube. I literally have the opposite of him. So I think because Benavidez lost last time, I think he has a chip on his shoulder. I love people who have chip on their shoulders. Now, doesn't always work out, but I think it does like propel them into like sort of like some kind of cojones that they normally don't.
I'm inclined to handicap Benavidez as well, so I mean we're not differing on that. I honestly think that if the last fight had gone past the second round, Figueiredo's questionable gas tank would have been, more relevant to the fight. How relevant the headbutt was, I mean, I don't know. It looked like Figueiredo was really on that night. But he's a pretty hot and cold fighter, so maybe he'll have a cold night. Benavidez at almost plus 200 odds, 2-1 odds. Good straight bet.
And when it comes to imaginary dollars, of the 1,000 that I am working with, you would win if I get all five. $5,780. That's
so she's saying that if every single one of her bets hit,
$5,700
with $1,000, bet roll, your return would be $5,780.
Correct.
Conversely, if all $1,000 that I bet hit,
don't listen to him though.
It would be like 42,000 plus 5,400 plus 1,100 plus all the other straight bets.
You should just.
Anyway, tune in. Watch the fights.
We shall see.
Maybe tail the bets, or maybe just give us a couple more events to see who you want to tail. But till then,
I'm looking forward to